Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I hope everybody's having a good holiday season and able to spend some time with friends and family. Today, we begin to circle back towards a different dimension of health and well being, which is spirituality. The next couple episodes will be kind of exploring this idea of spirituality, the concept of it, and how we can frame it in a way that serves us and serves our well being. And one principle of spirituality that I think is important is the concept of being kind and courteous in every single interaction that we have in our lives to the very best of our ability. Now, that doesn't mean we're always perfect. We often make mistakes. Sometimes we're grumpy. Sometimes we're just rude. And that's just part of being human and going through that journey. But ultimately, when I talk about kindness, it's an easy thing to get lost in a little bit of being kind for someone else. You know, I'm a nice person. I want to be kind to the other person. And therefore that's why I'm a nice person. Well, let me tell you why I try to be kind and courteous as deliberately and intentionally and consistently as I can, while making very clear that that's a bar that I try to attain and don't necessarily do attain. But my intention behind it is extremely selfish. Okay, it's all about me. It's all about my well-being. One thing that is sometimes interesting is that ultimately we want ourselves to be well. Okay, and it's okay to be selfish. My well-being, my happiness is my number one priority above everything else in life. And even sometimes when we think we're sacrificing ourselves, let's say, in my particular case, I've got children. So you put your children, let's say, ahead of your own, wants because you want to see your children be happy and so on. Well, ultimately, that's for me too. Okay, that's for my own selfish purposes, because seeing them, be happy people is almost ultimately going to make me a happy person. So the ultimate ulterior motive in every single act of kindness is a selfish intent. And that is 100% okay. It's okay to just bring it out and just call it what it is. But so when we use the word selfish here, sometimes when we say selfish, it's like, oh, well, that person doesn't think of anybody else. They, uh, you know, they only think of themselves. They they don't care about anybody, and so on and so forth. Well, okay, sure, that's the one way we can look at it. So that person, just like me, is a selfish person, but they're really inefficient at it. Okay, them not considering others, not making efforts to be kind and courteous in every single interaction ultimately erodes their own well-being. So I'm just as selfish as that other person who maybe has trouble being kind and courteous to other people. Same selfishness, except the difference is mine's more efficient at being serving my own well-being, whereas the other inevitably leads to some form of suffering when we fail to consider others. And ultimately, when we get into this spiritual concept, is that we are on some degree all connected to one another. We can explore that in terms of finding the right balanced approach to that idea, but we're all connected to each other one way or another. And so when I am deliberately kind and courteous and hello, good to see you. The cashier, he's like, hello, how are you today? It's good to see, thank you. I hope you have a good day. And anybody we interact, and even trying to be kind and courteous in our personal interactions, the people we have trouble with. Sometimes we have an argument with our spouse and it's hard to stay kind and courteous, or somebody at work, it's hard to stay polite and not be snarky or sarcastic or kind of throw a negative energy in there. It's really challenging for everybody. For me, it's very challenging. But the point, again, is about our well being. I am trying my best in my day to day life to be deliberately kind and courteous in every single interaction for me, because I'm selfish, because I want to be well. I want to be happy. I want to experience a certain sense of inner well being. And my understanding is that the most efficient manner to get there is to do it through looking at how I can help others to feel well in every single interaction. When you're kind and courteous, ultimately, it brings the energy up for both of you. This is a lot like there's a book called Have You Filled a Bucket Today? It's a child's book, and it's such a brilliant concept that it should be an adult book, to be honest. It's a basic idea that everybody has an invisible bucket, and that bucket is either full or empty. And when it's empty, we feel down and negative and unhappy. And when it's full, we feel happy and joyous. And this book tells us that the only way to fill our buckets is to do kind things to other people. And that fills our bucket, and it fills their bucket at the same time. But when we try to take from a bucket from another, when we try to take the good feelings of another, what ends up happening is it empties our bucket at the same time. So trying to, let's say, steal good energy from somebody else, it empties our own bucket. Whereas when we try to fill somebody's bucket, hey, that's a nice hat you got there today, bus driver, is like some of the examples of this book. Just to deliberately try to be kind and courteous, you fill their bucket, you bring them up with good energy, good feelings, and naturally your bucket fills at the same time. So this book basically teaches you to be a good bucket filler so that your bucket can stay full. It's a very nice concept, and maybe we could explore that more in detail another time. But all this to say is that kindness can come ultimately from a very selfish intent, but not in a way that selfishness is like, ooh, it's all about me. It's like, yeah, it is all about me. I want to be happy. I want to have a sense of joy. I want to experience life in the best way possible. And that's my number one priority. And kind and courteous interactions, to the best of my ability, is a method to help me get there. And that's the basic point here. And the last point I'll say before that is there are times we need to be assertive. In my line of work in forensic psychiatry, sometimes I literally have to apprehend somebody with my hands with the help of a team, obviously not by myself, but with a team. We have to put our hands on somebody and sometimes even give them medication against their will. It can be very unpleasant for some of these people and a very difficult interaction at times. But even in those situations, whether we have to have a stern voice, a tough voice, and be very clear, it is still in those moments an opportunity to be kind and courteous. Okay, you're doing great here. I know this is hard for you. Okay, oh yeah, go ahead and go to hell, man. Go to hell. I understand this is tough. Keep up the good work. You're doing great. There's always an opportunity, even in tough situations, and it's even harder, like I said, in close relationships. Marriages or partnerships or people we're close to, sometimes these negative energies coming out. And even then it can feel really tempting to move away from kindness and courteousness. But ultimately, by not doing that, we're doing ourselves a disservice, and we're not doing the best thing for what's good for us and our well-being. So the point of today is, let us all be selfishly kind. Have a good day, folks. We'll see you next time.